Fnaf World is the worst Fnaf game ever. It was so bad that not even the king of Five Nights at Freddy's played it. It isn't just bad as a Fnaf game itself, but as bad as an actual RPG. It led to some of the worst Fnaf games afterwards. It tried doing so many ideas that would just end up crippling the series. It would lead to the fandom being more split than ever. I will be brutally honest in this video. I will be going over everything I have issues with. Now, this isn't the worst thing to happen to a game franchise. Trust me, I know. Yet I feel like I should talk about how bad Fnaf World truly is. I know, Security Breach has glitches, but at least with that, it still has the essence of Five Nights at Freddy's in there, while this game just doesn't. If you don't like Fnaf World, then more power to you. If you do like Fnaf World, again, more power to you. I wish I could like this game, but trust me, you're gonna see really why I don't like this game. So, with that all being said, let's begin! Fnaf World was released a few months after Fnaf 4. It was the first Fnaf game to be released in 2016, and a lot of Fnaf fans were confused with the promotional material and its cutesy look. It seems like what a Fnaf game titled Five Nights at Fuckboys would be as an RPG, but instead of it being like Earthbound, it'd be more like Final Fantasy VII, aka turn-based. Which it looked weird, but hype was still high for Fnaf World. Fnaf 1 through 4 were good games to the fan bases. Even though 3 and 4 were divided, a lot of people still liked those games. Yet later on, Scott would put more information out about the game and released a trailer on November 2nd, 2015 with mixed reviews. After a while of release, people were angry about this game and wanted it pulled off Steam because of how bad the game was. And Scott did it and actually refunded the money for it, which was really cool, especially because the game was $10! Yes, I am not making that up. The game was $10 at launch. This game is so bad that even making it free feels like I need a refund. But we'll do all that. But first, let's actually talk about the story of this godforsaken game. Before we dive into the story, I think we should actually look at the graphics. I mean, we're going to be seeing it this entire time. I won't lie, both versions of Fnaf World look like trash. I don't want to be harsh, but the game just doesn't look good. I hate the weird clay aesthetic they tried going with. Some of the enemies look very off. But what makes me more upset is Scott did very well with the Fnaf styles that we had before, and even after Fnaf World. The beautiful atmospheric locations, but for the RPG, it just looks trash and unplanned, really. I think making a Fnaf RPG, instead of it being a freaking Spiral Mountain or Super Mario 64 Bomb Bomb Battlefield location, maybe it should have been something like a pizzeria. Maybe kind of more of a bright and happy during the day, but during the night or in later sections, it looks a little bit more gloomy, like the actual Fnaf games that was before it and after it. And of course, instead of just talking about the graphics, let's also talk about the sound effect and music. Because I'm not going to lie to you, the sound effects in this game are just flat out annoying. Some of them sound like stock footage in a lot of ways. The popping, the banging, the explosions. They're so loud and obnoxious. I don't understand how so many people like this. It's so... it gives you a headache. And there's music in this game that just doesn't really fit, I guess. It's not too good. And I know, Fnaf isn't really known for music, but a lot of the music in this game, I just simply can't remember. Aside, actually, from one. Stone Cold. This is amazing music. I really like this song. I don't know why, of all the songs in Fnaf World, this song made me really pumped and made me want to keep going. The sad thing about this song, however, is it's locked behind a difficulty wall. But more on that later. Fnaf World also has this deeper sections that also look horrible, and the music also ain't that memorable there either. You don't even know where you're going in that location, but again, more on that later. So yeah, it looks bad, and honestly, I can't say too much more about it. Aside from the fact that some people would say, well, Sky's an indie developer. First of all, let me just say this. Do not belittle indie game developers, because indie games can look amazing! Undertale, Minecraft, Cuphead, Stardew Valley, and hell, even Fnaf games before and after looked great. So no, it could have looked so much better. And before you even ask, the Atari style isn't that much better either. So yeah, I do not like how it looks. And before you bring up the Fnaf minigames, I'll say this, they were fine because they weren't the main game. The very first version of Fnaf World that was released on Steam was basically the Atari style. And the new style that they went with, honestly, wasn't that much better. So yeah, sadly, I'm just hoping that the next topic that we talk about, the story, is way, way better. Is Fnaf World's story good? No, it's really bad. See, the story goes something like this. Apparently something went wrong on the flip side and is affecting the world around there, so Fredbear asks Freddy and friends to go out and try to fix the issue. Yeah, a very simple story, but once you look more into it, it actually tries acting like it's a main part of the game, with subtle little nods and actually a secret ending at the end of the game. The story isn't good for two reasons, actually. One, it tries to take itself seriously, while also trying not to be, with meta humor, and it just falls on its face. It really sucks. And then, there's also reason number two, it's rarely brought up. The story is not brought up until the very, very end, where they're like, oh, well, it looks like you're fighting the final boss. Go in there, buddy. And yeah, that actually really sucks. And another reason why the story is so bad is that you don't see any other perspective of what's going on other than Fredbear. Fredbear is the only character who talks to you, aside maybe DD whenever you ask to play their minigame. And also Lolbit doesn't say a word, she just sells you things, and Endo just sells you things. And that's fine if there was more NPCs, but there's not. None of the enemies talk. None of your characters that you unlock throughout the entire story talks to you. Why the hell does your horror franchise do better than telling a story than your RPG? It makes no sense. There is something wrong with your game when the boss rarely shows up. He doesn't show up through the entire thing. You know what made RPGs so good? Big threatening bosses and NPCs you can talk to. Look at Sephiroth, look at Gygus, hell, even Bowser's more intimidating than any of the bosses in this game. But more on that later. Also, can I just say another thing? The main characters, not a single one of them, says a word. Like, at all. They don't comment on the issue, they don't talk to Freddy about any issues, nothing. They're just blank. Funny to think about that. Five Nights at Candy's reference. But yes, they're literally blank. They don't say anything to you. It makes me so mad because RPGs that have silent protagonists has other characters that can bounce off of them. Look at Chrono Trigger. Look at Earthbound. Look at Legend of Zelda. But yet nothing. And it's really, really bad. Now, before you say, oh, it's just a spin-off. Well, that's a big issue. Because if it's just a spin-off, they could literally just tell a way better story that has nothing to do with it. But there's also a debate in the fan base about whether this is mainline or is it not? Some people say that Scott made it scrapped, yet I don't really know. I mean, is it still connected? Is it mainline or is it just a spin-off? Is Fnaf World mainline or a spin-off? Well, it's definitely not like Fnaf games of old, but neither is Fnaf 6 or Fnaf Sister Location or Fnaf Help Wanted. So, I'm actually going to compare Fnaf to another series, Super Mario. Mario's a platformer. The game is basically you playing as Mario, jumping around and saving the princess. Sometimes it's 2D, sometimes it's 3D. It's fun and not too story heavy. But then, on the Super Nintendo, we got a gem known as Super Mario RPG. See where I'm going with this? This game would lead to other Mario RPGs, like Paper Mario and Mario & Luigi. It also isn't canon to the platforming games. Very rarely do you see anything from Paper Mario go into the mainline Mario games. Heck, another example, look at Mega Man. Mega Man has a mainline series and spin-off series with new faces, aka Mega Man X, Mega Man Legends, Mega Man ZX. Is also considerably noticeable if a game is a spin-off or not. 1. It plays and acts differently, and 2. It's in its own universe and not connected to the main story. Like, something that would happen in Mario & Luigi will not affect New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Or, something that happens in the Mega Man series will never affect something in the Mega Man X series. So, does Fnaf World fall into any of these? Well, yes and no. Fnaf World has lore bits inside of it. For example, it was the first game that we've seen main character Baby appear in, and at the end of the clock ending, you can see that they repeat the line that says, "I will put you back together again." Like, even Scott has an issue with this. Just listen to the interview.
Why did you decide to change things up and make Fnaf Worlds?
Well, I do have some reasons for why I made it, even though they're not. It doesn't mean it was a good idea. Just just because I want to go ahead and get that out front. Just because I had reasons for making it, doesn't mean it was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But one part of it was just that. I mean, there's only so much that you can let your mind focus on. Murders and tragedy and stuff like that before you kind of start cracking. Even if it's just stories that you're making up, there's only so much human suffering that the human mind can sit around and think about. And at that point, I was 2 years in, just fully committed to this grisly story of murders, and I had to make something more lighthearted. And in hindsight, what I should have done is, I should have used that for a troll game, or I should have, made something like, Foxy Fighters. I should have just done something that was obviously for fun and not tried to somehow tie it in to a canon game. And that's obvious to me now. But like I'm saying, like I was saying, I wasn't thinking completely rationally at the time. And whereas, like I was saying, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was the right game at the right time, Fnaf World, that wasn't a good time for it to be made, because I was already in the rhythm of making games that were, coming out not too far apart from each other. I was making them pretty fast, and that's what people were wanting and expecting, and that's what I was wanting to do anyway. I'm not, blaming people for wanting that. That's what I had created, that pattern, and I was happy with that. I liked making games really fast, but that was just a really poor decision of a game to try to make fast. In hindsight, like now would have probably been a better time to sit back and work on something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, like after all the after I was kind of satisfied with all the canon games and other companies that kind of taken on some other projects, then I could sit back and maybe enjoy making an RPG, and spend a couple of years on it, and just make something really nice, kind of, that looked like the Desolate Hope, really make some nice 3D models for it. Oh, and another mistake I made was Fnaf World. I was designing it for mobile. I don't know. This is a whole separate interview about what went wrong with Fnaf World. So let's just move along.
I feel that this is one of the FNAF games that was messed up mostly because it tried implementing lore. If it was literally just a silly RPG with no FNAF canon into it, I think a lot of people would have looked at this with a little bit more of a spectacle, thinking, oh, it's just a silly troll game like what Scott said. I think that FNAF World being pushed down by trying to fit in more FNAF lore into it was just a stupid decision. And I think at the end of the day, I don't know if the lore contained in it is enough to consider it a actual mainline game. And even today, I think that the most thing that you can say about this game, with my personal theory, is that it's a shitty mobile game that was released by the same people that made the FNAF VR game, Silver Parasol. You know, nice theory, ain't it? Well, anyways, today, FNAF World is considered as a scrapped story, so if you're trying to go on a FNAF lore binge, you don't have to worry about FNAF World. FNAF World combat goes like this. Certain characters have attack combinations for specifically them. For example, Chica has mostly cupcake-based attacks or heals, as Bonnie has lyrical songs that mostly buff up the character's defense or attacks. Springtrap has spring locks at their disposal. Yet, some attacks don't make sense for certain characters, like Fourth Wall, Escape Key, and Mimic Ball? What even is a Mimic Ball? Anyways, RPGs has a gimmick system to make the game stand out from the rest. For example, Final Fantasy has summons and limits, making the characters do stronger attacks. Mother 1 through 3 has a rolling HP meter, making it easier to heal before your HP gets too low. Paper Mario and Bug Fables gives you a chance to do more damage with action commands. And there are also a lot of different styles for RPGs, like Fire Emblem is a turn-based RPG, mainline Final Fantasy is turn-based, and Diablo is a dungeon crawler action RPG. Obviously, the style FNAF World went with was turn-based, which is fine. In the FNAF World battles, you only have 3 options for an attack, however, which really sucks. In other RPGs, you have options such as magic, close range attacks, items, but FNAF World doesn't, making it really bare bones. Also, most of the attacks roughly do the exact same thing, like Pizza Wheel and Pizza Wheel 2, and many, many more, which are just sequels to each other. More on that in a little bit. But it sucks that, like, a lot of them are just the same. The chips and bytes are also in this game, which we'll go over later, so don't go down in the comments and typing it's the only thing that FNAF World has to differ itself. Because, trust me, we'll go over it. FNAF World also has no victory music, which is odd. Most RPGs have victory fanfare to show that what you did was great and that you should keep fighting so then you can keep leveling up. But all it has is just some fireworks and kids cheering. I know this is nitpicking, but when certain RPGs have fanfare that make you feel more upbeat, it's kind of sad. Like, listen to Dragon Quest. Listen to Final Fantasy VIII. Listen to Earthbound. Or hell, games that aren't even RPGs like Minecraft. I think it just makes the games feel like they're not as important whenever you won a battle. It's just mostly, yeah, you did it, I guess. You hear some fireworks and kids cheering, and just keep going, I guess. I mean, yeah, the numbers are there, but still, adding victory music makes it feel a little better, and makes it a little bit more memorable, like, oh, that sounds mean that I got an upgrade. Still, that is just a little bit of nitpicking. After a while, you wouldn't really need to fight, as your new party would basically be strong enough. Well, except for the fact that FNAF World has 50 characters, and it's very, very hard to keep them all at the same level, because every time you get a new party member, they will be immediately at level 1. Why? This is so stupid. You would have to either grind out, or you could do what I do. If you don't know, FNAF World has a 2-party system, which makes it to where you can switch your party for another one. Before you say that's unique, Final Fantasy X has already done it before. Anyways, this is a way you can exploit the game for making you have to grind. if you put your strongest team that you had at that time as Team 1 and the newbies in Team 2, and then you fight 1 or 2 battles of the higher endgame bosses, you basically have your other party level up too. I actually had to look it up during my playthrough to see they even get upgraded, and yeah, it's true. As level Bonnie was level 10, level Freddy was level 10, the toy animatronics levels were level 10 as well, which they were only on my second party. And you know how I said like some of the attacks feel the same? Well, some of them literally are just better versions, like Pizza Wheel 2, as I mentioned before, Unscrew 2, and even other attacks that just literally act the same, like Escape Key can also do Unscrew 2 animatronics as well, I believe, which really just kind of sucks. Maybe instead of reusing ideas, maybe put in some other attacks that wouldn't just feel samey, like a camera turret. Could be like the endoskeleton army, but the camera turret goes up top where your bits are at. Or maybe a door shutting on an enemy, doing a whole lot of damage. Or maybe some animatronics should have an attack like the power going out, and then they do a huge number of attacks on them, like stuffing them into a Freddy Fazbear suit. And I understand Spring Lock exists, but come on, man. Maybe add more of what Five Nights at Freddy's was all about. Literally, it feels like 88% of the time when I'm playing, it's just a generic RPG, which is not good for a series that is trying to also be iconic. Now, when it comes to video games, the staple of the games are the bosses. Some video games have multiple bosses, or some just have bosses at the very end. For example, in Mario Bros. 3, you fight Boom Boom in every world until the very end. In Mega Man, you fight 8 robot bosses, and then you fight Dr. Wily at the very end. In video games, you mostly get a tease of what the boss will be and what you'll be fighting. Rather, it'd be in the start, maybe a little bit near the middle, and then at the very end you actually fight the said boss that it's been teasing up. Yet the sad thing about Fnaf World is that you never know who the true boss is until the very, very end. All you just hear is what Fredbear says, which kind of sucks if you really think about it. Imagine you playing Duck Hunt and then all of a sudden a gigantic mecha duck comes out and attacks you and you barely knew anything about it. Maybe a duck said something like, "Mecha duck will kill you" or something, but that's about it. It makes no sense at all. It makes it even stupider whenever there feels like there's no threat other than just some random enemies that attack you. And at the very end you just fight a stupid owl if you're playing on the normal version of the game. Or if you're playing on hard mode, you're fighting Scott Cawthon. Fnaf World bosses, you can see them in the Overworld, and that really helps you, aside one, but we'll get to that. The bosses also would have unique attacks specifically to them. Sometimes they might have some bullshit attack, like they might also have Unscrew, but I barely see that ever happening, and sometimes it's fine. Now, the thing is, they're just not too interesting to look at. They don't look very, I guess, unique. I mean, one of them looks like an auto chipper that shaped like Freddy. Then there's a snowman, a squid, etc., etc. It makes them feel too generic in my opinion. Maybe it would have helped if the background was a little bit more different, if they had their own background music. Maybe they could have their own dialogue, like saying something like, "I'm going to beat the shit out of you." I don't know, just something unique and something cool. I hate how they feel like they have no impact. They just blocked away, so when you beat them, you just kind of move on, I guess. Along with the attacks, as well, I should bring up is, they don't look too different. I mean, other than Snowball, but most of the times they just kind of jump and hit you, and that's about it. It kind of sucks, and I wish it was a little better than just, "Oh, I'm just barely jumping on you." Now, here's something that I really don't like, is the squid boss, I don't even remember his name, appears out of nowhere and completely beats the shit out of you. It just kind of appears whenever you're ready or not. So you could literally be walking to the next place, and then out of nowhere, the squid boss will attack you, kill you, making you have to reset all the way back to your last save point. which really sucks when you're just trying to keep going, because you can't save in battle. But anyways, if you're playing on normal mode, the owl is the final boss, as I said before, and he sucks. He is the worst boss in the game, because it has a horrible difficulty curve. For some reason, from the entire game, World 1 through 5 is pretty hard, but not too annoying. I mean, you could do it in maybe 1 or 2 attempts. Then you get to the stupid owl, and it took me 5 whole attempts. Now, you might think that's not too much, but some of the bosses literally died in like a few hits. The owl boss took me a long time for this game, which, mind you, this game is only around 2 to 3 hours long, and probably because the owl takes up most of your time. Anyways, I died so many times, 5 times to be exact, and at one point it was a fucking glitch that killed me, which was completely unfair because I couldn't even see my own party. It was so stupid. And you see, the difficulty curves is actually what Fnaf is kind of known for. Learn the pattern and stop the enemy from trying to get to kill you. In this game, and even in the next 2 Fnaf games, would have terribly suffered from this, making it so much worse than what Fnaf 1 through 4 were. So yeah, the Fnaf World bosses aren't memorable. One just appears out of nowhere. They reuse the same theme, and the owl is bullshit. Scott is also one of the bosses. I haven't beaten in base Fnaf World, and he seems more of the same as the owl, just a little stronger, and you don't get as much XP from him. Also, the dungeon bosses are just reused from other dungeons, and they're fine, I guess, but you also don't see them in the Overworld, so it makes it harder to prepare. Thanks, Scott. Fnaf World's Overworld is just a play it safe, down to a T overworld. You got the flat plains, spooky graveyard, blue oceans, and snowy tundra. I'm not a big fan of it. As I said before, I think if they went with more of a pizzeria location, making it look like a pizzeria, probably would have been so much better for what the style of the game was going for. Now, that's just one of the big gameplay sections where you're mostly spending it in the overworld or battles, but the other thing that you're going to be spending your time in is the glitch sections. Now, these sections suck. Now, how you even get to them also suck because sometimes you don't know where the fuck you're going. Fredbear doesn't tell you where you're going. Some of the places has overlays, like for example, the snowy tundra. I couldn't find where the hell I had to go, so I thought I had to go into a dungeon, but no, you actually had to go and hug up against a wall. And even in some of the other sections where you don't need to go into the dungeons, sometimes the dungeons will have glitch sections that you need to go through, which is completely unfucking fair. So unfair, in fact, that whenever you go in there trying to think that you're finding something, you get lost in the dungeon. Let me calm down. Anyways, with these glitch sections, when you go in there, they just look so bad, and it hurts your eyes after a little bit. At the very end, you can accidentally fuck yourself and have to restart getting back there if you don't save. Which, by the way, you can't save in these sections anyways. So, let's say, for example, you're near the end of the game. You just want to beat the game and get it over with. You're tired of playing it. Well, then you accidentally go down, so then guess what? All that effort of you trying to get to the fucking area you had to go to, you can't! This is so stupid! Everybody hates on Fnaf Security Breach because it didn't have a map, but this game's A-okay! The RPG only has one map and it sucks! And it doesn't even show you where the glitch sections is! This is completely— Do you just not like new Minecraft? Feel like it got more complicated? Well, do I have the Minecraft server for you? Introducing CC Minecraft Java Anarchy Server. Do what you want, when you want, and how you want. I have actually been playing on the server myself with XIII and Man on Fire, and we have been having a blast with the server. And also, there's a full Discord server down below that you can join right now. Also, XIII actually has a video series that is in the works of the first few Minecraft days on there. So go check that out while you're down there as well. So don't wait, go down to the Discord and join now. I'll see you there, gamers. The chips and bytes are considerably the main thing Fnaf World has to differentiate itself from other RPGs. Chips are basically the extra stuff you can get, some basic buffs, maybe they'll help out your characters by either in the battle or in the overworld. I honestly think they're pretty situational. Like, if you need another character, you have the find chip, but other than that, there ain't too much I can really say about the chips that isn't different than armor or anything else from any other RPG. The bytes are the main thing I wanted to bring up here because they are only used in battles, and the big thing about them is that they are completely broken. They could do so much damage that you could basically just sit back and kind of farm XP. Some can just kill some of the bosses in a matter of seconds. It's actually kind of bad, because in an RPG, you want to feel like you're in control. This is something that you really don't want, and that is just sit back and watch it come in. I mean, yeah, there's idle games, but those are idle games. This is an RPG. This is why people hate Final Fantasy XIII and Paper Mario Sticker Star, because it feels pointless when you have to battle, because if you know that you're already going to do so much damage to them, well, why bother fighting them? You're just going to be farming XP. I guess that's the only reason why you need them. Or heck, if you just want to go freaking fast past the game, you can. And honestly, I don't mind that, because a lot of people don't like this game to begin with, so if they are forced to play it or something, the bytes are perfect for that, I guess. I think other than that, though, not really many good things about the bytes. Like, for example, a byte can heal you. Cool, but you already had Chica. So a lot of them probably feels useless, like, this one just kills the boss in a few hits. Well, you have characters who can kill him in just one hit in a short amount of time, or maybe something like that. I honestly don't really like the chips or bytes. I think they could have been tweaked to make them better, but honestly, they're not interesting, and a lot of them don't even look anything out of the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, which is a huge reason why I don't even think the game should be called Fnaf World at this point, because a lot of the things aren't even connected to FNAF. A lot of new games had day one issues. Fnaf World also had day one issues, and just like new games, Scott was able to actually patch them up after a little bit of time, and even added in some features. Here are the things that were not in Fnaf World at launch. A map and a stat screen showing your stats. An RPG needs these things. Why wasn't it added in the first day launch? Anyhow, I think Scott fixing this was a huge improvement. But it's like getting 4/5 of a pizza, then a day or two later getting that 5th slice. Like, thanks, but I wish I had it when I had the pizza. Anyways, I think Scott making an updated version, making it better with all this stuff instead of leaving it the way it was, is a really cool thing, and I'm glad he's not like EA. End of Fnaf World, on normal mode, you get to get called out, and if you beat the game on hard mode and kill Scott, basically he kind of criticizes you and says that you basically killed the messenger. I like how Fnaf World just kind of slaps you in the face with this. In other Fnaf games, you actually get extra content, like a custom night, or a 6th night, or just something. In other RPGs, you get either new items, or you get some pretty cool new Game Plus material, or you could try out something new with the party. I mean, yeah, there's like fixed parties, or you can play Update 2, we'll get to that later, but sadly, I feel like that ain't enough. At least not to the point of endless possibilities of at least what FNAF 1 through 4 had, and even other games like FNAF VR, where you get to do other tasks still. Like, you can still do day 1 of FNAF 2 or something. And yeah, sadly, it just feels a little lackluster of how FNAF World ends. I think it should have just ended with everybody celebrating with cake or pizza. Is it just me? Okay. Let's actually move on to Update 2. Got released Update 2 with mixed results. It ditched the RPG mechanics and instead made it a variety of game genres. I haven't played it, but I want to still talk about it, as I heard some personal experiences and I actually have seen it. So I'll just kind of go based on what I've seen and what I heard from other people. So let's start with number 1, Freddy in Space. Fine, it kind of reminds me of Contra, and it's kind of cool that Scott is also the final boss here as well, but instead as a human. Chica's Rainbow Adventure. Honestly, it's just a range game, and the Rainbow is the most annoying game character in FNAF history.
You'll get it eventually.
Well, you know. Anyways, Foxy.exe. Bad. Moving on. Foxy Fighters. This is actually pretty cool. I really do like it, but there are some cringe segments. I don't like that very well, and I kind of wish that they didn't do that, but I understand it was trying to be campy. Final Verdict is okay, but DLC for an RPG, it kind of feels spread out. The ending is cool though, I have to admit. It is nice that we actually get to see Baby before FNAF Sister Location. Speaking of which... If you ever played FNAF World, you would know that the next game is Sister Location, which in my opinion is extremely overrated. FNAF Sister Location tried actually adding in jokes like the dumb exotic butters and the angsty team, and I honestly feel like that all came from FNAF World. The humor for some reason was actually considered to be really, really good in FNAF World, although I thought it was really annoying. The humor in FNAF wasn't really there. I mean, there was Phone Guy, and sometimes he'd make like a one-liner or something, but it wasn't really until FNAF World that we really get humor. Like, look at FNAF 6. They did the weird robot making some random bullcrap up in the stupid air horn. Like, the humor in the original FNAF was never as extreme that it's in FNAF World, or in FNAF Sister Location, or FNAF 6. And that's also kind of why I go more towards Ultimate Custom Night and FNAF Help Wanted, because they feel more like original FNAF, as FNAF 5 and FNAF 6 really just didn't feel that way. And also, I don't really like how, if you put this in another horror game, it'd be very confusing. Like, for example, imagine if you're playing Silent Hill, and every few cutscenes are like, Pyramid Head, more like, no bitches, or, oh, funny dog. It would be stupid, right? I think it's because FNAF World was a spin-off, and it was just trying to be its own thing, while also trying to be connected to Five Nights at Freddy's. They were like, we could just add this to the next FNAF game somehow. And honestly, it really did affect the series for me. It made me kind of skip out on a few entries. Most notably, I skipped out on Sister Location of FNAF 6. So yeah, thanks FNAF World for making exotic butters. My therapy pill will be in the mail. Therapy pill? Sorry, therapy bill. I believe FNAF World is the second most divisive FNAF game ever, aside Security Breach. I feel like it's love or hate field. Dawko, which I like his content, but disagree with him putting the game at A tier. It's a bad game and a bad RPG, as I said multiple times in this video. FNAF World seemed to be hated because it's not Five Nights at Freddy's, which is a good reason why not to like it, but people saying that it should have been just like Five Nights at Freddy's instead of trying to be something different is kind of unfair. Is Mario Party bad because it's not Super Mario Bros? Is Resident Evil 4 bad because it isn't like Resident Evil 0 through 3? What about Mega Man Legends, or Metroid Prime, or Crystal Chronicles? The problem is that it acts canon and a spin-off, which confuses everyone. If FNAF World was completely reworked to fit in its own universe, then I wouldn't care. Yet, that's the issue. It isn't acting like it's in its own universe. It acts like it's in the FNAF universe in some way, shape, or form. People seem to ask for a FNAF World 2, and in my opinion, wouldn't it be worse? I mean, FNAF World is already a bad game by itself, so a sequel would just make more people angry. Final Fantasy XIII 2 and Lightning Returns, Mario Party Island Tour, etc., were panned by the fandom and say it's not like the original, or it's worse than the original. And that's just a topic for a whole nother day. Also, I remember seeing people getting mad at Markiplier for not playing FNAF World, but in my opinion, his Five Nights at Fuckboy series was way better. Speaking of which, go watch that. It's really good. Well, this was a long video. FNAF World is definitely the worst FNAF game as a whole. It left me cold. I think I can say after playing 10/11ths of the FNAF games now, I could say that FNAF World is definitely the worst. But is it the worst game I ever played? Oh god, no. I played so much worse. Also, as I said before, it's not the worst thing to happen to a series. Silent Hill was relegated to a slot machine for years. Activision milked Call of Duty to the ground. Square made the worst RPG and gave it 2 more games. Nintendo hasn't made a good Paper Mario since Super Paper Mario. Blizzard made a bad sequel to Overwatch, made Diablo Immortal a mobile game which led to giving the company the most hate. Konami kills everything it touches. EA makes horrible sports games every year, etc., etc. I think if I were to rate FNAF World, I would give it a 2 out of 10. FNAF World was, as Scott said, the worst game at the worst time. I feel like as the FNAF series went on after FNAF World, it dropped hard. It shows in the quality, and not gonna lie, as I said multiple times in this video, FNAF World was bad, and I wished it was reworked. Fix the gameplay to make it more interesting. Just something. Anything, just to make the game so much better. Well, anyways, Scott, I love your work. FNAF World was just a little bad game. And I like the work on FNAF Help Wanted. It scared the crap out of me. And FNAF 1 through 4 are really good games. I like Ultimate Custom Night too. I just hope if you ever try making another RPG, you keep a lot of the things I said here in mind. So yeah, that's the FNAF World video. And I hope you all enjoyed it, because I don't know when I'm making another one of these. Bye! And there it is, people. My big, long overdue project. I started this around December 20th, I want to say. I started working on this project. Actually, no, that's not when I started the project. That's when I started recording and everything. But, the 20th was, like, when I started doing all the edits and stuff. But I had the idea since my actual FNAF World playthrough, which was, I want to say around, 3-4 months ago, before this one came out. No, probably not that. No, probably, like, November was when I had the idea. I had been working hard on this video for the last month, and I wanted to make sure that it was really good. I had people watch some of the footage. I had done a lot to make this video good, and I wanted to make sure that hopefully you guys enjoyed it, because I enjoyed making it. I want to make another one here soon. I do want to take a minute to kind of wait to do the, because when I did the Smash video, I wanted to do something else while I was working on part 2, which part 2 will be out soon. And I basically wanted to make sure that this video was also good, because I didn't want it to be originally it was going to be a bad review, in my opinion. I didn't like how the original one was going at all, hence why it took so long for this one to come out. I also know that it's not the longest video, but I want to make it long because I thought people will enjoy it. There are so many chapters in this, so much editing. Every clip I used in this video is all linked down below. All the songs, all the posts, all the pictures, everything's linked down below. I made sure that if I was going to do this right, I got everybody who peer reviewed it. I gave them credit. Mostly XIII and Man on Fire, like the two main ones who watched it, because I presented it to them. I even presented the idea beforehand. Thank you to XIII actually for sponsoring the video with CC, which the link's down there as well if you want to join the server, which hopefully you do, and hopefully I'll see you on there. Also, I do want to make a announcement that I am going to be working on another one of these videos, as I said before, probably. I don't know. I'm tired. I don't want to say what the game is, but I'm going to be doing a playthrough of it pretty soon over on my gaming channel, or maybe I already did. You don't know. I also noticed that a lot of these big videos take a while, and that's why when I edited it, you might have seen a lot of reusing clips. Like you might see like the same snowman boss fight, but that's because you only have 3 hours to work with, and if you want every clip to be different, you got a lot that you need to do to make sure of that. I only had 3 hours of Fnaf World footage I could use that wasn't the DLC or update. I have a gaming channel, go check that out. I have my main channel where we do like stuff with Runaway Mouse Productions, which is like a little small studio we got going on, or company name that we use. I got this channel, I got my vlog channel. Go check out the vlog channel, man. I love doing vlog. I don't know what is with me, but I love doing it. I'm trying to think. I like to draw. You can see my old drawing videos, I guess. Evil Spirit Extras, you can see what I'm doing over on there, which is just extra stuff that I'm doing. I wanted to actually do behind the scenes on how I did this video, but with the fact of I just wanted the video out, I didn't want to spend hours of having to edit that video and then also have it be recorded and then also have to go through the edits and then do the voiceover for the behind the scenes. I didn't want to do all that for a Fnaf World video, believe it or not. I was actually about to export it without this, but I was like, I wanted to talk about it, but I won't take up too much more time. But if you guys enjoyed it, leave a like, comment down below what game you want me to talk about next, and heck, if you like Fnaf World, I said in the beginning, if you like Fnaf World, that's fine. I personally do not. I think that's what ruined Fnaf for me. I think a lot of people can agree that Fnaf World was like the one that you were like, I'm not buying another Fnaf game, I'm not buying Fnaf World, I'm not, whatever, I'm not going to buy Sister Location, I'm not going to buy 6th, Ultimate Custom Night, which 6 and Ultimate Custom Night were free, aside like the Steam release. I also forgot to mention in the video, but it's not that big of a deal, Fnaf World was not released on consoles and stuff, which is kind of weird. The only Fnaf game that has not ever been released on console aside AR or special delivery, which I was going to get gameplay footage for that, but it didn't work. Hey, it's not because I didn't record any. You've seen that I used iPhone or phone footage with like you've seen it. I'm going to stop talking. Thank you guys so much for the support. Love doing content. I'll let my horrible outro play that I also use for the vlog channel. Bye.